Aita, for being mad at my wife for moving my son's stuff out of his room. I am 37, lost my son in 2016 from leukemia. I was a single parent and taking care of my sick son on my own with no one to show support or offer help. He passed away at the age of 11. He always loved sports such as hockey, soccer, and he used to decorate his room with sports posters on the wall / sports related toys in the shelves / and THST kind of stuff. When he was in and out of at the hospital, he'd decorate his room. Even though he had little energy, he loved to do it and considered his room his safe place. This is hard for me to even talk about because whenever I walk into his room and see his touch in the room and I'd feel him near. This gives me comfort knowing my son had happy days even though there were few. His room is the same and I haven't moved anything. I just leave it like it is, not wanting to ruin it. I've been married to my wife for 3 months now. My stepdaughter moved in with us last month and my wife told me she didn't like her new bedroom at all. She saw my son's room several times and said it looked nice, but I didn't think she wanted it. I have 3 rooms in my house, and my stepdaughter started insisting on taking my son's bedroom. My wife asked if I wanted to change my mind, but I told her that this is my son's room and it will stay this way. My stepdaughter didn't like that and took it as in I have no respect and consideration for her feelings. I already explained to her, but she won't understand. Even though her room is the same size as my son's. My wife wanted to give the room to her daughter, seeing that it's the right thing to do, and said that I was giving it too much thought. I told her no and that was it. But yesterday, my stepdaughter called me and told me her mom was busy moving her stuff into my son's room. She probably thought that I knew, so she was surprised that I was upset. I got home and my wife told me that all my son's stuff are in the other her room and all she did was just switch rooms. I couldn't believe it when I saw my son's room upside down. I was so mad. I told her she wasn't allowed to take the room without my consent, and she said that I wasn't being supportive and a good parent to my stepdaughter when I'm behaving like this. Told her this had nothing to do with her, it's about my son's memory. The room has been like this for years, and for her to empty it and move out his stuff like that felt wrong to me, no matter how she tries to explain it. She and my stepdaughter are being quiet and my wife thinks I'm being selfish and unfair to my stepdaughter, even though I helped organize her room when she first moved in. NTA for being mad that she did this without your approval, and I'm so sorry for your loss. With this said, it may not be mentally / emotionally healthy to keep your son's room as is, but this is something you have to get to in your own time, possibly with the help of a therapist / grief counselor. Being forced to change it when you're not ready probably isn't going to help you long term, but it would be something to discuss with a professional as soon as you can. I don't know how much of your stepdaughter wanting your son's bedroom is a genuine dislike of her own room and how much of it is your wife gently manipulating her into wanting it as an excuse to make changes. So while I think your wife is the A, I think there's a good chance your stepdaughter is not the A and is just being used in this situation. 1. Sorry for your loss. 2. NTA because it wasn't her place to decide. Her daughter's feelings were more important than yours. 3. You do need to talk to a professional about your grief, since the shrine to your son isn't exactly healthy mentally, even though it gives you comfort. 4. That your wife did this says that 3 months in you all may need a professional to talk to together, whether counselor or attorney. I vote for an attorney. That's incredibly inconsiderate. NTA. Your wife completely violated your boundaries and wishes. It was a gross overstepping and shows a complete lack of respect for you and your feelings. How you chose to proceed is up to you, but you are in no way the R. Perhaps family counseling would be helpful. Your stepdaughter comes across as entitled, but that might partly be due to her age. Your wife on the other hand, I honestly can't fathom how she ever thought what she did was okay. Someone else suggested she was the main person pushing for the change. It could be she felt the room wasn't healthy or was a reminder of your past, but whatever the case, she had no right to do what she did. Have you spoken to a grief counselor about the loss of your son? It might be something you find helpful, as I can only imagine the difficult feelings this situation has brought up for you. I'm saying this because I think there's anything wrong with how you feel. Grief is completely normal and many parents preserve the rooms of lost children, but it might be helpful to talk to someone who can support you as you process what has happened. She knew that I already said no, but did it anyway. Now she's trying to cause an issue between me and my stepdaughter by telling her that I don't care for her because I refused to let her have my son's room, which is not true at all. My stepdaughter is such a sweet soul and I'm glad to have her in my life, but her mom is being unreasonable and bitter. WIBTA for pressing charges on my friend's business. My boss has me do odd jobs for him. One of the odd jobs is getting his car cleaned and detailed once a week. My boss gives me X amount of dollars to pay for it. I've been going to see Tom, who is a good friend of mine who gives me a good price. So this most recent time I went over, I took my boss's Rolls Royce. I left it there and walked over to a nearby restaurant for a quick lunch while I waited for the car to get cleaned. When I got back, the police was there and my boss's car was pretty banged up. Apparently the kid who was cleaning the car took it for a joyride around the block and wrecked it. The car should have never left the property. My boss asked me what happened and I was sort of vague about it. My friend is paying to get the car fixed. He asked me if I did it or if someone else did it. I said someone else, and he said he wanted me to press charges on whoever illegally took the car. My friend wants me to lie and say I did it so his business doesn't face a lawsuit or legal action. Up to if I stood by my boss and not by my friend? NTA, what the hell? Fuck that guy. Press charges. Otherwise you will be the one with the charges pressed on you. What kind of friend would let you do that? Cops already know it wasn't Op because they were there before he was so. Also, he's not Op's friend to ask this. The kid is at fault and the boss is if he doesn't handle this properly. NTA. And let me be perfectly clear, this person is absolutely not your friend. If you say you wrecked it, especially after initially being honest with your boss and saying someone else did, you will be fired. You will be without a job. You need to be honest and move forward with pressing charges. And you need to find a new place to take your boss's car and find a better friend. Edit for typos. NTA. No decent friend would ask you to take the blame for something like this that you had nothing to do with. That's not a friend, and he should have insurance and one less employee. NTA. Aita for reporting my Bill's sister to a HIPAA board for accessing my medical records. This happened a long time ago, but it has nagged at me and made me question if my actions were worth it. Many years ago, I wasn't doing very well mentally and was hospitalized. My sister and I had a rocky relationship but were just starting to get close again. When this hospitalization occurred, I was ashamed and did not want her to know, fearing it would destroy what took so long to repair. After I was released, my dad told me that my sister knew about it but she did not contact me, just checked in with my dad about me. I was 100% certain that the only person who knew was my dad and he assured me he did not tell her. It then dawned on me that my brother-in-law's sister works as a nurse where I was hospitalized, so I called the hospital. I felt embarrassed about the accusation but they were very nice and took my concerns seriously. A couple weeks later, they followed up and verified that she did indeed access my medical records without being my nurse. They said she was scheduled to meet with a board or a committee but they could not inform me of the outcome. Since then, my sister and Bill have cut off all communication. I have written letters, tried calling her, etc. but I was blocked entirely. I did not intend to hurt anyone. I was more upset that this very sensitive and private subject was violated by an employee and I did not feel it was right of her to use her position to access my records and inform my sister. If I had wanted my sister to know, I would have told her on my own time. However, I have missed meeting the birth of both my niece and nephew and lost my sister and friends associated with her. Family is very important to me as mine has been very broken and it's heartbreaking to not be included. Was I in the wrong? Edit. I'm now realizing a large group of strangers are better family than my own. I was not expecting this to be so one-sided because of the severe backlash I received from my own. I have been feeling guilt and remorse for too many years and I feel like I can finally move on and stop beating myself up for this. From the bottom of my heart, Thank you. And please continue to share your thoughts and your stories. These discussions have the potential for healing, education and improved mental health. Edit 2, I am still here and going through the post one by one and intend to respond as much as possible. I'm once again taken by the kindness I've been shown. Additionally, I've slept like a baby the past couple days with a newfound energy and confidence. I don't know how to express my gratitude, but if I can repay it in any way, I'm all ears. NTA, she did something wrong, and got punished. She violated the rules as a nurse, which is very serious. Is she not a nurse anymore? From my knowledge, and her LinkedIn page, she lost her job at that specific hospital. Doctor here, she shouldn't have accessed your medical records if you'd come in with an eye-growing toenail, never mind MH problems. And she made the additional heinous breach by disseminating what she found out to your sister. Even had she been entitled to access your details, e.g. if she'd been your nurse, she should not have discussed it with your sister, so it's two massive breaches of her ethical code. I never thought about the if she was my nurse but still chose to tell my sister. Thank you for that fresh insight. I remember the nurses telling me my mother called and asking me if A, I want them to inform her of my stay there, and B, if they could update her on my status. I declined, but it was nice of them to ask. All in all, even my own mother shouldn't be told about my stay there unless I give permission, right? It is not anyone's call but my own to determine what is best for me and what they think is appropriate, even if she had good intentions. I might be a little more understanding if I was in a critical condition, but I was not, and even then, not their choice. Am I thinking clearly here? Absolutely NTA. He broke the law, she gets to deal with the consequences. A lot of the time these aren't isolated incidents, so it's entirely possible she's done it to others as well. I understand it hurts to be shut out, but you need to release yourself from the guilt because Sil, and by extension the rest of your family, apparently, does not respect you. This is a huge violation. To be clear, this is not a wink and nod situation in healthcare. You are educated backwards and forwards that you absolutely will be fired if found out. Side note, with electronic medical records it is remarkably easy to detect these types of violations. Many systems have automatic checks on suspicious access. Psychiatric records are often highly secured, i.e., you have to break the glass by re-entering your password at our institution. You can't do it unknowingly. If you do this, you absolutely know that you very well will be terminated for such an egregious violation. NTA. That's horrible and I'm really sorry that happened to you. Them choosing to go no contact with you after you reported their wrongdoing is not your fault. HIPAA violations are a huge deal, and especially as you were someone who was struggling psychologically, that could make things much worse because it is such a violation of trust. These are things that often make people less likely to get help when they need it. Also, if she had no qualms about doing this in relation to you, she clearly doesn't care about how serious and horrible that is, and could be doing this for however many people, which could further contribute to bad things in their lives. She is responsible for the consequences of her actions. Honestly, one stranger to another, I'm proud of you. It can take so much courage to report things like that, and I think you made a good choice. You're not in the wrong at all for that. This has been burdening me for too many years and it took me a long time get up the nerve to talk about it openly. That said, you have no idea how much your words and insight means to me.